Naba la musa moro dele pigo. Teteza manita wali. Inota tomu wenchi dikubuni. Dikututa futulu mawafu digenyose. Afaga bevai makhiru. Dukunu materu naba. Naba naba makhiru naba. Naba. Big dog on the truth teller. The prophet Nebnabala Musa more than the big. The chosen one, the Messiah. Basa ile muke naba Masi otobile bana bilege naba Isina basa ile muke naba Dikizi yo muti difezi Dikizi yo muti difezi Namerite biya no ifezi Namerite biya no ifezi Anye kizi yo muti jamfezi Dikizi yo muti difezi Anya dile maheru shinyefe Namerite biya no inana fotele Inana bao Tufunu masiru naba 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 maheru naba 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 maheru naba Prophet Nebnaba la Musa moro dene big Big dog on the truth teller Naba naba maheru naba The prophet Nebnaba la Musa moro dene big The chosen one, the Messiah Naba naba maheru naba He is the chosen one and the Messiah. He's the light and the way. The wisdom of our days. The healer, the preacher, the truth teller. Bangati to Bununge, listen up a second. What you're for, the chosen one, the Messiah. Listen up a second. What you're for, sister. Listen up a second. What you're for, sister.
Ujjayi, and welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. I'm FAHKARA.
And I am Jodianne.
And it is wonderful to be with you here again, another Wednesday evening. Before we go any further, I'd like to acknowledge the world of the divine, and I'd also like to acknowledge our ancestors, those whose shoulders on which we stand. I also would like to acknowledge Nebnaba Lamusa Moro Denebeg, the Makaru, and the temples those who have kept this knowledge so that we can partake and learn from it today. So we'd like to welcome you to the Wisdom of the Nile show. We're on Bless Radio. That's www.blessradio. And our number is 079-444-31366. This evening we will be sharing knowledge with you. We'll be sharing information, and we will just be sharing with you. So like I said, it's good to be back here again with you another evening. And so right at the top of the show, we are going to, now it has been a couple of weeks since we've been here, and one of the reasons why we weren't here at one of the weeks was that we were having our new year. Our it was the end of the old year, 420, and we were seeing that old year out. We saw it out in what we call the month of Nut. And in this year, there was an extra day, which we called World Renewal Day. And, that's a very special time for us. So, we had a great time at the school, and I know the EC schools across the different centres also had a great time. Now, I know Nahibsa probably spoke to it last week, but, this is the first time we're back since New Year. So, I just wanted to say Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And I am going to say looking forward to the year, despite what else is going on this planet Earth. And, it's wanting to spread its tentacles across the planet, yeah. But despite what else is going on, time is ever moving, that's one constant. That time is always moving, and we give thanks to be here, to be able to be a part of this great movement, and really to be witnessing these extraordinary events what are happening in the earth. So while the extraordinary events are happening, we still are holding on to the wisdom of the Nile, the calendar, the teachings, and all of that strength and knowledge that our ancestors held on for thousands of years. We still have that opportunity to hold on to that, and not just lost in this Gregorian calendar and this Gregorian world. We would have nothing else to hold on to, So it's powerful that we've got something greater than this 2,000-year-old calendar. I just want to really make that sink in for a moment, that we've got something greater than what the world is subject to at the moment. So that is the greatness of this. So that's what we're really thankful for. But at the top of the show, we do like to give or share some news. So, okay, you're pointing. Let's do this first, yeah? All right. Excuse me. Before we share some news, then because I shared with you the fact that we've come out of the month of Nut, and we are now in the first month of the year. And this month is called the month of Tehuti, my month. And okay, our month.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yours is last week, wasn't it? Yeah. So mine's next week. Okay, so and the deity Aishat is the deity that rules this month. So as we said, and I think Nahibsa probably spoke to it last week, but I'll just say a little bit about World Renewal Day, where there is a what is the word that where there's a renewal, where we assess the 4 years that have gone before, and then there's a reset before we start the next 4 years. And we had the opportunity to stand in that space and time to look back, and then to stand where we were on that day, which is World Renewal Day, which comes once every 4 years. Excuse me. and which you may know as a leap year. So we celebrated that day this year, and we actually used that energy to refocus on what we want for the next 4 years, where we're going to make our wishes, and to really not just let go of the old, but to actually focus and bring in the new. And it was a really good, powerful time we spent together as a school that night. So after the World Renewal Day, we went into our new month. So, which is Tahuti, as we said. And in this month, we've actually got quite a few things. So we had Fish Day, just on Sunday gone. And that's the day where we acknowledge every living thing on the land. So for those who eat meat, we don't actually eat meat on that day. I don't eat meat, but for those who do eat meat, so you only have fish. So everybody brings fish that day, and we share in that. So that's an acknowledging of all those that live on the land. So that was Fish Day, and we're also going to have the Day of Tahuti, where we will again be in our temples celebrating that. So that's actually to come. But on this day, on this month, we have Aishat. Now I just want to say a little bit about Aishat. So for those of you who may be aware of the holy drama, Aishat features quite prominently in that drama. We're not going to go into that drama. If you want to know more about the holy drama, or more about the initiation, we'll be giving out the information for the school during the show, towards the end. So you can always come into the school when we have presentations, where we've got the website, we've got online video, so there's a lot to learn. But Aisha, she is the deity that people more know as Isis, or again her iconography is used for the Mary and the baby Jesus. So she is the deity that holds the baby Heru, and so this is her month, and she is the goddess of love. So if you really into what we call love, she is that deity that stands, that principle, that model of what love looks like. She's the wife of Wusa, who is known as Osiris in the Greeks, and he is the god of the dead, and he's actually our ancestral father. Now, she's the mother of Heru, or Horus. Again, in Greek mythology, that's who they are known as. And again, as I said, it is that iconography of her and the baby, that there was always that symbology of her with the child. That same iconography has come down into Christianity. Aisha is seen as the greatest example of a loving and faithful wife and mother. Her love for her husband was so strong that she used her magical power to resurrect Wusa after he died. Aishat is worshipped worldwide under diverse names, and is the goddess on which modern religions have based their divine feminine models. She is also known as Isis, Aset, Asta, Aseta. As humans, Aishat is considered our mother and first maternal ancestor. She was our role model for motherhood, love, and family devotion. Sacred animals for those born in this month include, and so, some of the things that if you're born under this month, which you wouldn't kill and eat, is monkey, cow, hawk, vulture, ibis, catfish, scorpion, turtle, and sacred bull. One is forbidden to consume or kill these animals. So, even personally, Aisha holds a very special place in my heart. She always had done, and it was just really wonderful to know I was born under her month. And actually, my name, Katasta, is the one who thinks, has the mind of Aishat. So she's very much a part of my personal journey. But to be honest, she's a part of humanity's journey. What she stands for, um, the whole concept of the virgin birth, you know, so many things are attributed to this model, this deity. So yeah, and of course Tahuti, which is the month of Tahuti, but again, Tahuti is another really important deity in our Neteru, a really important deity. And even when we're talking about this month, the day of Tahuti, that's going to be a very important day where we again celebrate the day our ancestors made a vow to the divine will. So actually, if you want to know more about that, again, that's a day when we will be sharing knowledge of. Now, it may be online for those who want to join online. I know certainly for the London school we'll be giving more information up about that, and I dare say the other schools will also be giving out the information on what will be happening on the 19th day of Tahuti. So I was just checking which day, you know, the actual day.
It's a Wednesday,
Right.
29th.
So so basically it's going to be next Wednesday. That's right. I just wanted to make sure. So next Wednesday is when we will be celebrating at the school the day of Tahuti, and again we will be giving information out on that. Anything you'd like to say about this month? Or
not the month
data
specifically.
on this?
I wanted to just say to everyone that's listening, if you are interested in learning about Aisha, other deities, the Sidereal calendar is available on the Earth Center website. We haven't yet got this year's calendar. However, there's a wealth of information in last year's, the year before, lots of different articles. Recipes from Lancaster Natural Healing are also available, so you can purchase that calendar online from the Earth Center website, and details will be given towards the end and in the show as well for that.
Okay, wow. All right, so that's just catching us up with where we are in time and space. So let's now move over to current affairs. What's apart from the obvious that we've been speaking about like for the last year or so, the obvious. What else is going on out there? What else are they pushing? What is the narrative? But yeah, what's happening out there, Jodie?
When I was trying to find out, because I don't really watch a whole lot of news a lot of the time, I was really trying to find positive things, but a lot of it's really, again, like we said, just pushing different agendas. Now, one of the first things that came up was about this missing YouTuber that's now been found, and a lot of I guess influencers or news reporters and generally people online were coming out and saying that there's this thing about missing white woman syndrome, whereby it highlights a racial imbalance of media coverage where persons that are not of a minority aren't really highlighted as much as white women are. So this YouTuber called forgot her name, to be honest. So she went missing a few weeks ago, and they found her body, I think, yesterday. Her boyfriend's on the run. There was a big thing about it. It's in the news. I think it's even in the papers here, isn't it? Online. There's things on TikTok about it, and a lot of people are basically saying, give that same coverage to other people that are missing, not just somebody famous because they're a YouTuber. There's also black men that are missing and been missing for months, and it's not, they don't really see that it's fair, regardless of whether or not she's a online personality or not. What makes her different from anybody else? It's still somebody that is missing,
Definitely. I hear that. Oh, as I was saying, yes, that is that's definitely true.
Yeah.
I think the fact that she is a YouTuber though would have something to do with the popularity of her, of people speaking out the fact that she's a YouTuber. So I guess anyone who is online who did go missing, if you're used to being online, I guess people will say, oh no, this person was out there. So there is that aspect I think that has to be taken into account. She is a YouTuber,
You
you
could
know.
also argue that case though, where that girl that went missing, I think it was last year, was it earlier this year, Sarah something, the one that was walking on the road and she got kidnapped by the police officer. There was a lot of coverage on that. And around that same time, that black boy had gone missing that went into Epping Forest, and there was a lot more around her. Kate Middleton even came out and bought flowers for her. So it's, you can kind of see what people are saying in terms of
Right. So that's
that.
more like for like.
Yeah.
YouTube is already out there, so you can you can all right leave that. But if it's a like for like,
Yeah.
where it's a woman and then it's a child, and that's more, it's nobody more prominent out
the
there
other.
than the other, then yes. And I mean, we know that these disparities happen, we're clear about that. And yes, there was that situation when this woman went missing, and a little black boy was kidnapped and escaped, and there were other black children, and there was nothing in the national media, and we did speak about that. So that is disgraceful. There's no two ways about that. So we do know that that does take place. So yeah, I guess more of the same, right? But we don't really want to be more of the same. We do want that to change. Now, who's going to make it change? We have to be brave enough to make that change. We have to make it change. We can't be looking outside for it to just change. Who's going to change it if we don't step up and make those changes? Who's going to change it? So yeah.
We also had a parent, so this is from America actually. There was a parent and a mothers group that complained about the teaching of civil rights in schools, because she, quote unquote, said it allows children to believe that white people are oppressors and minorities are victims, and she didn't really find that fair. So she put a complaint into the public school system, whereas her children are in private school. So she just didn't think it was fair for them to continue to do that. There should be a change in terms of how issues of race are taught in schools, basically.
Yeah. I hope you're still hearing us out there. But yeah, I mean, no, she's entitled to her opinions, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Yeah. I mean, I find it a bit strange sometimes how these things make the news. To be honest.
Well, whose media system is it?
Right.
Yeah. So, but yes, she's entitled to her opinion. If teaching the facts, is an offense, then so be it.
Yeah, I mean, when I was again looking at articles surrounding this, there was this issue within the locality anyway, whereby there is a disparity between minorities that live there and white people, and people basically, like black people were saying that it is just a general thing that occurs there. There's always this fight for, they want to kind of have something or have particular parts of history taught for, so that their children can see in schools as well, but it's always an issue, they were saying. So yeah. So
sorry, so if you say that again, so who was saying that
there was a black parent that was saying that just generally within the community itself, that there's always an issue about race within the community, and it's kind of like, why can't we have something be taught in schools? Like, what's the big problem?
Right. So what she was directly answering to that, what this lady was saying, and it was very interesting. We went to I don't think we've had a chance to speak about the medicine festival that we went to. Really, really interesting, and we about a month ago, it was really good to go to a medicine festival where there were cultures, people from different cultures, and I may have had a chance to speak about it, may not, but anyway, it was interesting that we had people from different cultural backgrounds. So we had people from Mexico, we had people from the Amazon forest, but also people in the spiritual world. So we had representatives from the Druids, and and it was very interesting because one of the Druids, they were talking about where the Druids were, their role in the British system, because we know that they were oppressed and basically run out of the British Isles and killed and their culture destroyed.
Okay.
And they would be what you would see as the priests and the priestesses. That's who they were. So there was a time when the Druids ruled the British Isles before the Romans came in. So
Right.
that was their spiritual teachers. And while he was talking, it was very interesting because they had a similar setup to how traditionally we would look at the setup of the priests and the works that they did and the roles that they played. And one of the things that they spoke about was, in Greece, they used to go to the temples. Delphi was one of the temples. Well, we know that there was contact between, because of course the Greeks were coming to Kemet and learning, and one of the things was their spirituality, which is why they borrowed a lot of the names for the deities. So there was that exchange happening. But the Druids here in the British Isles were actually linking in Greece. So this Kemetic culture was also being carried across in that way. And so you had almost like a priest class here, which we didn't which the Romans, so when the Romans came in with Christianity, then they began to kill the women. So the women who were practicing traditional knowledge, they saw them as witches, but also began to wipe out the Druids. And one of the things that he was saying was, when they go back in the Druids' history, they were actually more darker skinned, they were browner skinned. And this was the Druids. And it was interesting because as he said that, one of the women in the audience said, yeah, but we had blue eyes, didn't we? I think just a thought about brown skin, you're like, but we did have brown eyes. Well, but the fact is, when the truth is spoken, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. And so, and it's interesting because this one is demystifying, this show today is going to be demystifying stereotypes of traditional cultures and the control of history. And again, we see it here, and again, we can speak about to it some more. But when we're talking about cultures, and this is where we transcend, this black and white, a culture is a way of life. It's a group of people who live a particular way. They have their cosmogony, they have their way of living, they have their rituals, they have their sacred places, their sacred rituals, they have a way of life. And like I said, it was very interesting that the Druids had very much similarities in the way they carried out. So even at this festival, you saw where, and again, we had the Mexicans, we had the people from the Amazonian forest, and everything was based around nature, the natural world. We have Nu, Shu, Tefnu, and Geb, which is water, air, fire, and earth. Now, what else is there for any human being and any culture to go back to? These are the fundamentals. So it means that any being that had any kind of interaction or common sense was dealing with the same thing. We just had a different way. And this is one of the things Neb Naba said about, actually embracing different cultures and different ways of interpreting the same nature. So, but what we then went on to see was that systematically those spiritual systems were broken down. So, again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the rest of the show. So, in the news section, did you have anything else for us in the news?
Yeah, there's one more thing.
Okay.
About Kemi Badenoch, who's the UK Equalities Minister. There was some leaked texts or WhatsApp messages between her and I guess a friend, in which she said she doesn't care about colonialism because it's just made a different bunch of winners and losers. And there was never a concept of rights prior to colonization.
What can you say? Well, what can you say? I don't know. Listeners, what would you say to that? 079 444 31366. If you don't want to call in, you can call in and tell us your thoughts. What can you say? You can text in. What's your thoughts on that?
Yes.
So just give us that one again, who she is, because for those who aren't familiar with the UK, it's important that you let us know who she is here.
So her name is Kemi Badenoch, and she is the UK Equalities Minister.
And she says
she doesn't care about colonialism because it's just made a different bunch of winners and losers, and there was never a concept of rights before colonization. So I'm gonna assume that she's one of the winners now, right? That's why she doesn't care. She must be. Yeah. If she was one of the losers, I wonder if she would care. Anyway, interesting. Okay, so I have a news article, and I say news article. This doctor who I have the utmost respect for, so I just want to say that part for myself. So Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwao. I hope I got the last bit correct. If I haven't, please forgive my pronunciation or mispronunciation. So she is a medical doctor, but she was, let me just get it right. So she was the ambassador to the AU. So she was the ambassador to the US from the African Union. And during the pandemic, she spoke out against France's continued hold on the francophone countries, and the fact that to this day these countries were still paying off loans to France, which actually France are using their material, and yet they're having to pay France, and it was just a whole madness. And so when she spoke up, the AU terminated her positions, and there was an uproar and there was a backlash. But they only let the lioness loose, because when they did that, then is when we really got the full picture of what was going on. And actually, since that, we've seen, some of the countries actually speaking up to them. I know Ghana did, and actually, well, France seemed to be making some step backwards in terms of, giving these francophone countries, the loan that they were supposed to be paying off, and at the interest rate. There seemed to be some discussions about that. But the point I want to make about her is that she set up an organization, a DDI, I think the name of the organization is, and I'll give you the details of that. But the crux of it is that she has now liaised with the Ghanaian government and other organizations, and they are creating the Wakanda city in Ghana. So the lands have already actually been identified, and the plans by the architects have been drawn up. They have already sourced billions for the project, and the project is actually underway. And one of the things she is doing this December, for anyone who is interested, whether you be business people or otherwise, is that she is taking a delegation to Ghana to have a look at business investments. And this is business investments from the very smallest, so you may have $1,000 to invest, to the biggest, you may have millions to invest. And what she says is that, and I was actually on the meeting, so I was there when she was speaking directly about this, is that she is tired of seeing Chinese
business people, and she says they're not even business people sometimes, they just come over and they understand these opportunities. European people coming in and getting these business opportunities, Asian people, Syrian, all cultures except people of African descent. When we come into places like Ghana or other countries, we do not know these opportunities that are there. And what she wants to do is to show you what the Chinese know. Why within a year or two they come to the country with nothing and then they're millionaires within a year or two. She wants to open the doors and show people, people of African descent from the diaspora, these doors that Europeans are opening, Indians are opening, Chinese are opening, Syrians are opening, but we just don't know. And she's going to be connecting you to business opportunities on the ground, and even if necessary connect you with the people who you can then outside of the country do business with. So I think that was a great business opportunity for people who have an interest to go back to Africa, but specifically Ghana, and may want to do business. So I think that's some positive news that, you know, someone of such a high profile. I mean, she actually is a qualified medical doctor, so she doesn't get a name, but she is Her Excellency, that, you know, she has her titles. But, you know, and she makes it absolutely clear, I'm not making any money from this. She says, if I want to invest in a particular project, then I'll make money from my own investment. But this is because she's seen time and time again other people coming into Medita, into Africa, doing business, becoming millionaires, and our own people having no clue because they don't have the network. These other people have their communities that show them the ropes, and we don't have anyone to show us the rope. So that's what she's going to be doing for us. So I applaud her in terms of what she wants to do. So that's think the news, yeah, that's the news of what we have today. So let's have a little listen to some music, and we will be back on the other side.
Jesse Mosima Wansan, one life, baby, don't fail. Muko Sini Medina Dandela, and leave for City Momin Fair. Jaravidina Udusu Sumaya, Netumalo, Dia Dumata. He can't do Kini Lela, there's a no con, de Wadi Kunko. Come take one.
Is so beautiful. We could listen to that for so long. We realized we would listen to it for so long. Yes, on a Jabarate. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of the show. So we're, like we said, the title of the show is Demystifying Stereotypes of Traditional Cultures, the Control of History. And we have a reading that Jodie's going to give us, just to put it in context, because we want to, let's hear it from Nebnaba, a perspective, and then we will have our guest in, but we will also be speaking a little bit on this. So, yes, Jodie.
Okay, so this article is from the Philosophy Podium, and it's titled Cultural Imperialism. Peace, as we say in Tamat, Africa, is not a word but a behavior. In the passages that follow, I assume that the reader is an intelligent and honest person, a person capable of criticism and self-criticism, A reader seriously concerned about the problems or even calamities affecting this world. The world, as defined by the contemporary education system, schools, universities, media, propaganda, politics, etc., does not have much to do with the reality that is hidden from us. Whether it is the media or the academy, it is clear that any educational system that defines other people by what they are or have that is good or bad has nothing to do with the intellectual development of the individual. When our system calls other people developed, meaning deserving our respect, or underdeveloped, meaning deserving our hatred, our cruelty, our indifference, our exploitation, our system has become nothing other than an instrument for the destruction of the world. Our opinions of other people, cultures and races today are the result of the so-called scientific works designed by the ethnologists, archaeologists, historians and others of the past centuries. Science has served to provide cover and fabricate justifications for our hateful attitudes towards other people. Science continues to make acceptable to individuals the destructive religious prejudices of previous centuries, and science does this by making those prejudices look logical, scientific. When Romans decided to introduce a calendar of 10 30-day months to the world, the Sidereal calendar was already 70,000 years old. This calendar is based on the Syrian star and is therefore astronomically exactly accurate. When at the birth of Christianity, its religious leaders decided to wipe out all pre-existing knowledge, science was eager to lend its support to the new idea that the world, meaning the human species, was only 6,600 years old. Many examples have survived that expose science as having been nothing but a doctrine and tool controlled by interest groups. Take, for example, the problem of racism. Yes, racism. Science has played and continues to play a very important role in attempts to legitimize hatred against other peoples. Scientific archives reveal supposedly scientific reasons why the white man is better than the rest of humanity. Now, tell me the difference between this science and Nazism. Many tests or so-called calculations of IQ, intellectual coefficient, simply assign to every individual a social status that is already predetermined by politics, religions, and mere beliefs. I would like to concede that there are individuals in every field who are serious and honest about their work, but since their work is just a part of the system, it has nothing to do with the principles of intellectual honesty, do they deserve any exemption? The imperialist wars of the last century were purely and simply armed attacks against other people. But the imperialist wars of today are fought by science, by the academy, and by universities. Every imperialist nation starts with the principle that it is better than other nations, and since it is the educational system that defines values, universities have become the Trojan horse of the present system for destroying and enslaving other nations. Perhaps it is time all universities accept their share of responsibility for the ongoing destruction of the world. If the human of modern society is a monster, he has been fathered by those educational systems. The same institution that snatched for itself the right to educate and shape the population has succeeded for too long in maintaining an innocent facade on its diabolical crimes, while honest citizens are raising concern about the pace of the degradation of the world. When we studied the Gregorian calendar, the leap year was explained to us scientifically as a scientific result of the scientific fact that the Earth takes exactly 365 and a quarter days to complete a full circle around the Sun. The quarter days are added every 4 years to make a third 366th day. What a joke! This joke has been taught to everybody as a scientific truth. The irony is that it is still being taught today while our so-called scientists are still trying to calculate the exact distance between the Earth and the Sun. It is not a secret to any knowledgeable person that the Earth's rotation and revolution speeds are not constant. and it's practically impossible to calculate those speeds exactly. At any rate, the fact stands. The leap year was celebrated 70,000 years before the Gregorian calendar. So what will our scientists say? Why then claim that science is teaching knowledge, while it is simply not different from other dogmas, religions and ideologies? Politics, interest, manipulation, imperialism.
Can you give us the book again and what chapter that was?
So that was chapter 34, Cultural Imperialism, and that is from the articles from the Philosophy Podium.
Okay, cultural imperialism. One culture trying to subsume, put down, or rise itself above another culture, and then to make its culture the dominant culture in a given area or even the planet. And one of the things that, really, so much stuck out in that chapter, but just the fact that we talk about science, and our science that is spoken of in terms of modern science, dates back to 6,500 years, and it talks about all of this great knowledge that it has, and it's known in the leap year and the rotation of the sun and all of that. Imagine, because we know that these modern cultures learnt from the ancient cultures, and we know of the destruction that took place, the theft that took place. But imagine closing a door that has behind it at least 70,000 years worth of experience. What could we possibly be missing as human beings? Could some of that missing knowledge be why we are where we are today? Because we don't have sufficient knowledge to maintain our humanity? Nebnaba likens it to, or speaks of this as another dogma, science, being another way to control the minds, hearts and souls of the people, another tool in the hands of the imperialist. And these tools stem from, if we even go back to the calendar, so astrology, the study of our place in the universe and our relationship to the other bodies that exist in the universe. And within our tradition, we understand that this is a living universe. So the other bodies that are in different dimensions or different places in the universe have an energy, a BOUABTI. It has a means to communicate, and we have a means to communicate with it via the planet that we are on, Earth. They are not simply cold, inanimate objects, rocks and the sun, hydrogen burning at a certain temperature. They have a more crucial role in the becoming of existence or becoming of this universe. But if the knowledge that we're subjected to no longer takes into account the other dimensions or aspects of our universe and simply locks it into a calcium, hydrogen, magnesium, potassium, selenium, etc., simple elements, and then everything is based from that understanding, what could we possibly be missing as human beings that could help our march into the future? And as human beings, we have many dimensions to us. We are not just physical. We are not just made of those elements that we just spoke about. We have the other aspects to us, the non-physical aspects. What of those? 079-444-31366. I am really just throwing out some questions that have arisen from the reading that Jody just read. Jody, any questions? Anything that you'd like to say? And so let me just say, www.blessradio is what you're listening to, and 079-444-31366. The topic we're talking about is demystifying stereotypes of traditional cultures, the control of history. Now, one of the things that Nebnab again alludes to he doesn't allude, he speaks directly about it, is that, we are told, and I don't quite remember the words he used specifically, but we are told who we should, which cultures we should look up to and which cultures we should look down to, basically because of what we have. That is what makes you look up to a culture or look down to a culture. So what about the intelligence of the being? What about, their practices? What about their history? Because if history and the fact that any people rose to greatness in history and had great spiritual wealth, physical wealth, intellectual wealth, if history was going to define who would be, looked upon as great, we certainly would have had that in the black nation, in the African nation, because there is no other culture that has risen above the cultures in Africa. So it can't just be that, because we know the greatest civilization. And we are not just talking about civilizations because we're saying, Africa is better. No, we're talking about, and again, when you spoke about earlier, this thing about the facts being read in the school, and people might think that you're promoting something, or you're saying that another group is that. No, just like we're talking about Henry VIII in school, we're talking about Henry VIII and Victoria, we're taught about those. Okay, well, let's also talk about the civilizations that existed pre-European civilization, and the fact that these were great civilizations. So if it was based on the greatness of what civilizations achieved, we would be at the top. But it's not based on that. It's clearly not based on that. So how do we move forward as humanity? How do we pass this place where we are now? How do we move forward? Do we continue to have this continual struggle between, because you are white, you hold that position, and because you are black, you hold that position? Does this continue until the end of humanity? What will make humanity come together? What will make humanity realize that, we are all here to live out our time that we have on this planet, not necessarily to fight because of the color of your skin is different, or even because the way you worship your deity is different? Where do we go? How do we move forward? we see now, without doubt, a new age is upon us. So we're going to enter a new age, and we have not even resolved the issues that are of the old age. Because we are now moving into what we call AI, artificial intelligence. So that is on top of what we already have. And we cannot manage what we have already have, because it's clear, we can see the breakdown in society. So we can see we can't even manage what we've got. But we're moving into this whole new era, this whole new... So how then are we going to manage artificial intelligence that may be even more intelligent than us? So when artificial intelligence starts to look on human beings as less than, how are we going to... Because we haven't learned how to manage ourselves. We haven't. And we're living a lie. The whole society, it's living a lie. So how do we move forward, So again, we're demystifying stereotypes of traditional cultures, because if we went by the stereotypes, we would then believe that African cultures or Indian cultures or other cultures were less than. We were with the Mexicans at this festival, and they were still carrying on aspects of their cultures that was so powerful, that still exists today. They were going through what we call these sweat lodges, where it's a place where they commune with their ancestors and reach forward towards or communicate with their divinities, and wow, it was so powerful. How do we move forward as human beings? Anyway, 07944431366. These are questions that we ask, that I'm throwing out there. Now, I have to say, I have to give thanks. I have to say we give thanks, because the temples have given us so much structure, so much information, so much wisdom that our ancestors lived and passed on, that at least it gives us something to hold on to. It gives us something to live by and to move forward towards, because at the end of the day, although we are talking about civilizations, we're talking about imperialism, we're talking about all of these, we're talking about masses. It takes individuals to make up the masses. It is the individuals that make the decisions that then governs the masses. So what decisions do you make in your everyday life? Today we are in unprecedented times. Will you still do the same things you did yesterday and expect that to carry you into the future? Will that carry you into the world that is to come? How will you navigate? How will your children navigate? How will your children's children navigate the time which is to come? Have you prepared yourself? Have you prepared those who are to come? Because we are moving into a different time. What is your anchor? What is your safe ship? 07944431366. We are just going to listen to a little bit more Sona Jabarate, and we will be back on the other side.
So, this song is about love, I mentioned. Jarabi. I would like very much if you could join us on this song. We yo Jarabi. We yo Jarabi. We yo Jarabi. We yo Jarabi. For those that can do two things at the same time, to clap and sing, yeah, or half.
Thank you. Wow. Okay, so back on the other side, and Jody, we were speaking, and you had something you were going to share with us.
Yeah, it was just to answer your question about how do we move forward. And as we can see with the system, their moving forward is artificial intelligence, flying cars, you know. And at a very basic level, we have to really return to nature, in the sense of spending time in nature, observing nature, you know. And we understand that in a way science is observation of the natural world, as opposed to it being all these technological things or feats that the system present to us. So for those that aren't in a particular tradition, that is what you can do at a very, very basic level. Walking in nature, observing what's going on, having that nature ground you, and allowing it to kind of, I don't even know what the word is, almost like embodying you in order for you to move forward. It's almost like sometimes you have to, in order to move forward, you have to go back into something, you know.
I definitely agree with you, but the thing is, they have made nature seem like this inanimate thing that you can just like, it's just there.
And absolutely, it's also this thing of like they're kind of chopping trees down to make more houses, and but we really have to find those things. There's so much beauty everywhere, you know. We really have to try and find that thing that's really going to ground us, you know.
And this is what our ancestors understood, not only because, you know, so, a lot of what is seen here today is very surface, because we're still, some are just coming out of the system and really appreciating nature once again. But nature is our original teacher. So when our ancestors, there's the saying, and we can use that as a proverb, you know, that if the gods created nature, then we will then use nature to go back to the gods. And we talk about flying vehicles in this modern age. If anyone knows anything about African ancient tradition and even Africa today. They know about vehicles, flying vehicles, you might call them spiritual vehicles, that can go from one place to the other in a split time. And that might seem fantasy, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree on that. So if we're talking about what they call technological advancement, if you even go back, as you say, go back, if you even look at books, because books like the Bible, they've been used as a political tools, but what they were was a collection of different books and different information that was given out during time, a given period of time, and there were tweets and so forth. But there are certain books that talk about when certain people they went up in like a particular, it sounded like it was like a machine that took someone up. There's a particular prophet that went up. What am I saying there? What I'm saying is that in ancient cultures, you will see them on the rock paintings and different places. There is this idea that there are some kind of, let's call them, for want of a better word, spaceships or other entities that have come into this realm and then left. All right, so just like you might see a plane coming in and leaving. All right, so this idea isn't new. There is nothing new under the sun. What we're talking about is humanity's development, because at the same time that you develop technologically, we've already said, if we were talking about the heights of technology, we've already been there. The pyramid still cannot be understood, how it was aligned with the stars, on the Orion's belt, and how it, how certain things were set out the way they're still trying to figure that out. So when it comes to technology, there has been the heights of technology. It's not technological advancement that does it. We're talking about human advancement, spiritually, intellectually, psychologically. That must advance alongside the technological advancement, or else technology takes over, like we're seeing going to happen today. So yes, I definitely agree with you. Realigning with nature, but understand that nature is an intelligence, and that by being able to commune with that intelligence, nature herself can teach you. This is where our ancestors learned from. They learned from the original teacher, because science, as you said, is an observation of, or a study of nature, an intelligence, a supreme intelligence. And one of the ways that we can just understand how nature is so intelligent is, again, just to look at yourself. Are you the one who consciously keeps your heart beating? Do you say to your heart when you go to bed at night, heart, keep beating 6,787 times, and in the morning when I wake up, I will take over from you? Do you say to your respiratory system, okay, keep breathing in and out, and then when I wake up, I'm going to go sleep, and when I wake up, I'll take over? No, consciously, you have nothing to do with those systems that are operating 24/7. They are an intelligence that is operating outside of your consciousness. You have systems operating in you that you are not even conscious of how they act or how they function. That means even you are under a higher order. And wisdom would teach you to align yourself with that higher order that allows those things to be happening within you. 0794443136. You're listening to the Wisdom of the Nile show. I'm FAHKARA.
I'm Jody.
And we are about to introduce our guest for the evening. So our topic tonight is demystifying stereotypes of traditional cultures, the control of history. So Ujjayi, let me say Ujjayi, and I'd like to welcome our guest for this evening, Ujjayi.
Ujai.
Hey, Ujayi, Ujayi.
Jai.
We want to say welcome, and we're saying welcome to BOUABTI FAHKARA. Welcome again to the Wisdom of the Nile show. How are you doing, my Senu, my brother?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here tonight.
And we are definitely
Yeah.
happy to have you here. So, my brother, we were, on the most part, we're asking questions, throwing some questions out there, putting information, because we want people to think as well. But you have come to share with us a dialogue with us on this idea of the stereotype, the demystifying of the stereotypes and of traditional cultures and the control of history. Now, you know, from what you've heard, what do you have to share with us this evening, my brother?
Okay. So to me, when I think about stereotype, is everything that the European people say they are not. Everything that they say we are not. And the whole idea about the stereotype or stereotypical is the idea that is when somebody wanna tell a lie and they want it to stick and they make it look like is just something that is a joke, something that's funny. But in reality, it is not a joke and it is not funny because it have far deep roots and it affect you for generation after generation. And then the sad thing about it is that we ourselves start believing in the act of what European people has been saying about us. So they say things like we are savages, and we are savage.
Could you move a bit closer to your mic? We lost a little bit of volume there. So if you could just come back a little bit to your mic again. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So they say that we are
Yes, better.
like savages. Is that better?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. So they say that like we are savages. But up to about 3, 4 years ago, a German man actually eat another German man. And then we also have in Britain in the 70s, 80s, there was a homosexual man by the name of Nielsen, Dennis Nielsen, I think his name was, or some Nielsen. And he used to go to clubs and pick up men, have sex with them, kill them, bury some of them under the floorboard, put the rest in the fridge, and then eat them. I can't remember hearing any such story about traditional African people. So the idea that we are the only thing why they use all these things is to take what we have, represent them as we in many circumstances or situations where you look and you said, oh, black people can't do this and black people do this. When you check it out, it's the reverse. They were saying for a long time that black people can't swim. When it turned out, if you go in history, you find that the first set of divers, deep sea divers, that was in Europe was actually African people that was doing the salvage work. The Mary Rose ship, it was black people who was the divers who was salvaging the king's gold and the king guns on that ship. So as I said, the sad thing is that we start believing in it. And then that put us back because we have this idea that we can't do this or we can't do that. And the only reason why they do that to African people is because they know and they can see that every time we try to do something, whatever we try to do, and we work hard at it, we become better than anybody else on the planet. There is nothing that can stop African people if we were together from the beginning. They know when they were going to America that we had a spiritual system that was strong, that was very powerful, that we understand nature. We understand how to fit in with nature. We weren't trying to control nature because we know we can't control nature. And this idea that nature is something foreign, nature is us trying to live in harmony with the four elements that is manifesting on the earth. And if we understand how to manifest ourselves, or orientate ourselves with these energies, then nothing is impossible. Then also we understand the benefit of our ancestor spirit. And we know how important our ancestor spirit is. We know that as a human being, we can't achieve nothing without our ancestors beside us. And everything, every goal, every aim, every intention that we have, everything that we do is only because of the goal that was set for us by our ancestors. The purpose and the reason why we come to Earth. So in the modern system, they try to let you feel that the only purpose of your existence is what the system, what society is giving you. But those are not goals. Those are not ideal. Those are just keeping you tied to the plantation. They don't want you to be liberated, free in mind, in body, in spirit, and to be in harmony with everything about you. So they continue to foster and develop more devious ways of bringing us, degrading us in a way. And this is what has been going on for the 400 years or more that we have been around European people. Everything we have, they try and take it from us and pretend it's theirs. They develop a religion that was started in America, and they say it is theirs, and they don't even believe in it. That's the funny thing. They don't even believe in it. But it is only to perpetrate the lies that they continue telling. Because every time you hear somebody say something stereotypical about somebody, actually they are just lying, and they want it. It's just pure propaganda, and they build up a whole lot of propaganda trying to show you why this is correct. But in reality, it is not correct in no shape or form. It's just a way of promoting the impossible. It's a way of showing you something. It's like sleight of hand. They're telling you one thing. They know themselves that's not the reality. They don't believe it themselves. But they get our people and everybody else to believe this. So now, African people has looked up and throughout the world as the worst in everything. And we know that can't be true. Because we know we have offered so much to the world. And I can say, surely, if African people is not on this world, are not in this world, humanity would be finished. Because all of the great things that we can think about is African people that has been doing it. So they can say whatever they like, they can continue the lies, And if you're foolish enough to entertain such philosophy and ideology, if you're foolish enough to not know your history and you don't know your past, then you don't know where you're going and you can't stop what is going on. You are just clinging on, and we can see it with what's going on in the world today, that everything around us is in constant change. But yet still, is it change for a positive? Is it good or is it bad? We have to decide this for ourselves, because we know from the Kemetic teaching that good can come from bad and bad can come from good. So we know in everything, after a storm there's a calm. So the only choice we have now as humanity is to look not into the work and the words of man, but go within yourself and realize that within you, you have the answers. You know what you need to do. You know what your ancestors did. And you know how to walk, how to talk, how to represent your ancestors. And understand that also within you, there is divinity and divine energies that are flowing in you. The breath that you breathe is divine. The water you drink is divine. The sun is divine. The earth is divine. And all of these things is the only thing that we need to consider and look into. And try not to be a sheep or a follower. Use your imagination. Use your senses. Use your perception. Try and harmonize yourself with whatever is. Life is simple, but we as humans make it very hard and impossible. Because we always want what is not possible. And the possibility of knowing ourselves, understanding the journey of life, be who you are meant to be, and don't be what you want to be or what you can't be. Because there's no balance, there's no equilibrium in you as an individual when you are not practicing yourself. That's the only thing that you come to this earth to do, to manifest your true you. So when people are calling you names and in a derogatory terms, I mean, if you look at this nonsense, there's a book in the Bible that they don't talk about, and it is the book that talk about that God cursed the black man, and because he cursed the black man, one of the curse, he have large phallus or penis, and that is one of the envy of most of the society about black man, is that the phallus is large. So because they run that stereotype, then they think every black man in the world is like that. And then according to Freud and all those great thinkers of the past, they have the term penis envy. And it's a natural thing that is going on in society where men feel so belittled by other men, whatever other men have. So we have all that nonsense, and a lot of black men who love the idea that that is the reality. But that is not really the reality. It is what people has put in your head, and they want you to feel and think that way. And once you are on a journey of pleasure, and there can be no harmony or balance in you if you live your life for just pleasure and be a pleasure seeker, then the stereotype that they have put in you is working, and it makes you become confused. It doesn't make you understand your relationship with the divine, your relationship with your ancestor, your relationship with the earth, your relationship with everything that exists, how you walk this earth, what is the real purpose of your existence. We don't know those things because we are take the side road, we're frightened to walk on the high road, and we just continue to believe the unbelievable, think the unthinkable, do the unthinkable, and it is just taking us backward because we are not here to walk backward. We are here to grow, to realize, and to understand what nature is. How we fit into nature is very important because the earth has given us everything that we need. Everything that we want is on the earth. There is nothing that a human being can ask for that is not from the earth. Your mothers, your fathers, your grandparents, the water, the rivers, the air we breathe, everything is of the earth. So why do we not understand that the earth is where we need to look for our own salvation? The energies of the earth is something that most people just continue to think the earth is just a big lump of rocks and water that is spinning very fast in the universe. How did this come to be? And now we get into the theory of the Big Bang system. That out of this one Big Bang, everything fall into order, and we have cycles. We have weather systems. We have different planetary systems. We have the here whirling around. We have tornado. We have hurricane. We have flood. We have summers. We have winters. And we have a harmony in all of these things. And these are the things that we are told that it's just there is nothing controlling it. How does the sun come up every day? How does it go down every night? How does it have the four seasons? These are things that just happen automatically. If you want to believe and accept that there is nothing else, and this concept of only living one life, and in that life, when you die, you go and rest, and you're going to wait till the trumpet comes. If you are in that reality, if you are thinking that is the way, then you are lost. You're lost to yourself. You're lost to your ancestors. You're lost to the divine. And when you die, you might not even be able to go and rest with your ancestors. You may be able to walk the earth for eternity. For some people, that might be a good thing. But for others, I don't think that is a good thing at all. So we need to move away from the idea of what other people think about us. What do you think about yourself? Who do you think you are as an individual? Where are you think you're going when you leave this earth? Because we all have to leave this earth sooner or later. We have to go. So, where are we going? Are we going to come back? Are we going to come back as a man or a woman? Are we going to come back in a different reality? Are we going to come back as a Chinese or an Indian or an African? All of those things is in the concept of human understanding. So we just need to understand that by believing in the lies that somebody spread and and accepting it as reality, you have become a fool. You have become something that does not warrant uh, the dedication of what the earth has put into you.
I
The
think
amount
you've
of
moved
food
away from
and
the mic
everything
again.
that you have earth has given to you. So we
Yeah.
need to look at those things carefully. Any question you want to ask?
Okay, we've got you back now. You did move away for a bit, but I think we've got you back. Um, okay, so you said quite a few things there. One of the things you just spoke about, why we're here, what are we doing here, and when we transition,
I can't hear you good.
you can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you spoke about us being here, and then the reasons, knowing yourself, this whole transitioning. But what would you say, because one of the things that is held is that, well, people of African descent, what we kind of tend to do is to, we think of our gods and, the traditional side of things and praying and that whole ritual thing. Whereas, those who are more advanced and more intelligent, they're busy building, and they're building their societies, and we're so busy praying that we're not focusing on, wealth and that kind of thing. So that's why we don't have, because that is a kind of another stereotype that has been, placed on us, that well, we're busy praying, and that's why we don't have any. Obviously history tells us differently, but what would you say to that?
Well, I would say simple is this. Um, it depends on what you want out of life. If you want to live a material life, then you're going to be material. If you want to live it a spiritual life, as we consistently say, is only two ways for human being to grow. Is either internal or external. So if you are trying to live in harmony and balance with the universe, it is not a short road. It's a long road. But all I can say to you is this. Yes, it's good to grow your society. And it's good to have food for your family and food for your generation or for your country. But sometimes you have to understand what is the cost. When you continue to chase down the higher living, when you continue move yourself further and further, because in tradition, and that is why we have traditional people chose not to develop the way we are developing in the modern system, because they want to stay close to the earth. They want to live in the bush. They don't want a big castle, because they know their goal in life is to grow internally and to be in harmony with everything about them. So is whether your choice is. Now some people might say you can do both, but you can only do it to a small way, not in a big way. Because the moment your life is gauged on materialism, then your goal is going to be different. And I know rich people, and they spend all the time worrying about how to protect their money and who is trying to rob them, who is trying to take it from them. and therefore they spend so much time that they sometimes become like a prisoner. And we've seen it with many people who have money. They build fortresses to keep other people out, and that doesn't take them nowhere. Yes, what we need, and in terms of Merita, we have in abundance in everything. But the reality is not the outsiders that is causing us the problem. Is we who are causing ourselves the problem, because we have leaders. If you go in certain country, I'm not even going to mention certain country, and you see the difference between how the president live and how the ordinary people live. It's such a vast difference, and so you can see that he have no humanity. He or he have no love for his country or for his people or his fellow men, because he would try his hardest to uplift his people so they have fresh water, they have food, they can have proper sanitation, they can live in a place that they can feel comfortable. They don't have to go for how much acres of land, acres and acres, and palaces in almost and in most countries, the president or the prime minister have at least two residents. He have his country retreat, and he have his townhouse. And so therefore, it depends on what you want. If you really are on a spiritual path, and that is what your ancestors set you to do, then you're not going to have the palace and the things like that. Because our ancestor will always give us what we need and not what we want. Because they know that what we want might be something that is going to take us on a different road. And we might not walk the road that they had set for us. It's as simple as that.
One of the things that I remember when we were speaking, with Naba, in terms of the Gomba and the traditions, they said we've been there, we've done that. In terms of in the Nile Valley civilization, we know what it was like to build great monuments, to build great cities, to build great learning centers, and we saw how people envied and came in to destroy us just because of what we had. And so we took that knowledge, and when they left Egypt, they thought Egypt was the knowledge, but actually they took that knowledge with them. So there was lots burnt and lots of things were destroyed, but that spiritual knowledge is what people like the Dagomba took with them when the pharaohs realized, okay, they will come in and decimate this culture, so let's move out. So they moved the culture, they moved the tradition, they moved the spirituality across Medita to the other side, and to West Africa. And even then, we see when Europe began interacting with Africa, if we're talking about wealth, we know that whole area was called the Gold Coast. When Europe was going through the plague, the Black Plague, when Europeans were dying in their hundreds of thousands and millions, Africa was actually a time of great wealth. Along the Gold Coast, there was great wealth. Gold was being exported by Africans. We were mining gold. So the idea of wealth is not new to and again, this is one of the lies, the stereotypical thing of us being, just understanding about spirituality and not understanding. So yes, when we chose that path, there's those of our people who chose that path, it's because we understood what wealth was. And like you said, for those who wanted to take that spiritual path, they took the spiritual path without the wealth. But our people understood what wealth was. So again, it's that stereotype, which is not true. It's a stereotype. And
It's not.
okay.
It's not true in many ways. Because up to now, they say the richest man that ever lived richer than Bill Gates
Mhm.
and Amazon man together.
Mhm.
Mansa Musa
That's right.
was richer than them.
Mhm.
The kingdom of Mali was the richest place in Africa.
Mhm.
And look at Mali now.
Mhm.
Look after French has been there how much years now.
Mhm.
And look how they have stripped out everything
Mhm.
that they can take.
And we know that
So
these were
when
flourishing kingdoms. These were kingdoms. The
right,
Mali kingdom existed, and gold was
it
what the
was
Mali
one of
kingdom. That's
the
right.
most richest kingdom
Yeah.
in Africa. Right. So
So what happened?
you
What happened? That's the thing.
know, but kingdom rise and kingdom fall. But the thing what we have to understand, is that um, when the European people went to Africa, America, and they come up with their agenda, and they still have the agenda running now, and a lot of people think that a lot of things was in the past, and that is where people is getting confused. Oh, and the thing is, and we as black people especially don't want to hear anything about our history. We don't even want to hear old-fashioned music because they said that is not our type of music. So whatever has happened in the past, we don't even want to speak about it, and we don't even want nobody to speak about it. In every other culture in the world, they are keeping their culture alive. What
Proud.
negative has happened to them,
Mhm.
and what positive has happened to them.
Exactly. Proud.
That there is no day really in the world for what African people has gone through. We should have days and days and days that we dedicate to our people that has gone. Dedicate to make sure it never happen again. And we don't have no such day. Every other culture, every other people have these days. And they allow the youth in their community to understand and know their past. We don't educate our youth, our children, to understand the legacy of slavery, the legacy of how African people has been treated, and all kind of people with even lack of who have no intelligence or understanding or no wisdom, thinking that we are the worst, we are at the bottom of the pile, and everything that has been said, and people who don't have no reality based on reality of what has happened just continue to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And we, in the same time, is running more and more into the arms of the people who that has destroyed us. We are just continuing to allow ourselves to be abused. And this is like a drug addict. We are like addicts. We just continue going back to the drug dealer for more. And that is what is happening in our culture. And even people who you might class as intelligent, PhD, degree, whatever, doctors, lawyers, top people, they are more what we call educated fool more than anything else. Because they have no vision of themselves. And they are so indoctrinated into the system. And they are so much a part of the system. But you dare not mention the word slavery or anything like that to them because they're going to tell you that is something that happened a long time ago. We have to move away from that and rise above that now. You go and tell the Jewish people to rise up and get away from what has happened to them. and see if you don't end up a prisoner or get shot or something like that. Any other race of people, but our people, they, everybody is talking about their ancestors.
And
Everybody is glorifying their ancestors. Everybody is lifting up their ancestors, raising them up so that they can walk strong because they have a root, they have a foundation, they have a past, they have a history.
you
We
know,
allow our history to be buried and continue to be buried. And we ourselves is trying to bury that history too.
we have one of the good things again, learning from the temples, learning from those who know their history. They know about these artificial lines that were put down across Africa, and it has no resemblance whatsoever to the real history of Africa and who we are as a people. And I spoke earlier about Ambassador Dr. Arikana. They also call her Excellency. She was the ambassador to the AU.
Yeah, I heard when you was talking about that.
Yeah, to the UN. Now, one of the things that she said most recently is that, when you go to Africa, because she uses the word Africa, the reality is, although you hear Africans saying, oh, Nigerian and Ghanaian and Benin and Togo and Burkina, Africans know that this is not their reality. She said, that is not how you will be known, and any real African will not know you according to the country. They know you from your kingdom. Which kingdom do you come from? And African to African understand that I am from this kingdom or I am from that kingdom. It is still very much present. So she said, don't think that it's about your country. We as Africans do not qualify ourselves by our countries. It is our kingdom. Which kingdom are you from? And it is about returning. And one of the ways she said is, ancestry.com. That's one thing. But, you can begin to research and find at least which kingdom you come from. You can do it through your DNA. Or, you can go back to the kingdom. There'll be those who can tell you or give you an idea of which kingdom you are from. It is not the countries, and they understand that. So our culture is still there. It is still being practiced.
I understand fully what you're saying, but at the end of the day, I don't look at it from that way. I look at it from another way. Within the human that is living is a spirit, and is this where your spirit come from is the important factor, not the physicality of you that is walking the earth today, but where is your true spirit? Where is your true home? Where is it that you come from as a spirit? And that is the important factor, because if we're going to talk about living in harmony and living in eternity, then we can only be talking about the true essence of the spirit, because the physical body has changed so much, but the spirit is something that live on and on. So when we are talking about physicality of people, different kingdom, we continue migrate and change and adapt, and many adaptations go on in our lives. But the true essence of who we are as a spirit, that doesn't change, and that is what we want to connect to.
I definitely agree with that. But as a people who have been dispossessed, it is also important that they reconnect with one Merita, which is what we did when we connected with the Dogomba and the traditions, and they can tell you their kingdoms and where they come from. And so for those who are
I
dispossessed, there is still that aspect on the physical aspect. So the spiritual is one aspect, but the idea of this physical aspect must also be addressed. And so that
of course, and that's
reconnection, yeah, so that reconnection on the physical level, and I think it's important because it's been the Europeans that have told us about Nigeria, Benin, Ghana, but it's an Africans that are saying that's not how we see ourselves, and that is
yeah,
important, how Africans see
I fully
themselves.
understand.
Yes, yes, I think it
I
is
fully understand.
important.
I fully understand. But what I'm trying to say is that, and that is why it's so important. What we need to have ways. This month of October about Black history um, is just like giving you a grain of salt and somebody have a whole crocus bag full. So what I'm saying is that we ourselves who are walking on the earth, no matter where you're from, you need to understand that you have a history and you need to get acquainted or reacquainted with your history. Know your past, because only when you know your past that you can really step forward and move forward.
Definitely. I think Jody has a question for you as well, Wati.
Did I have
Yeah,
something?
I can't hear you too good at all. Yeah, go on. Um, are you saying that you want to hear what am I thinking of other indigenous people or other people's spirituality and how they're protecting it? Is that what you said? Okay. Well, I can't speak too much about what other people are doing because one of the things that you find when you deal with a lot of other people spirituality is that you only know a small bit. Most people are not giving you everything, even though you think you are getting everything. Because for one, they speak a lot of the time in different languages, and you don't even fully understand. They could be cursing you or saying anything about you, and you wouldn't fully know what they're saying. But I find sometimes it's very uplifting, and there is a harmony and there's a balance in some of the things that they're saying and doing. And some of the things that they are doing is very deep, and it's very spiritual. So I can't fully comment on what other people are doing because I've spent time, yes, I'm trying to learn others' spirituality. But when I did in the past, it didn't take me very far because all I end up in mysticism, where things don't really have an end or really a beginning. And so therefore, it's all about initiation and something you can get initiated into that don't make sense in the long run. Some do, and sometimes also some society don't allow people from outside to really get the full knowledge. They only give you so much. So I can't really say much more about how they protect their knowledge, how much they have. I know, for instance, a lot of the Mexican has lost a lot of their culture. I know a lot of the Aborigine in Australia has lost a lot of their culture and tradition and practice because and the American Indians has lost a lot of their culture and tradition also, and it's just and the modern American people just move them out of their land and make them become disenfranchised, and just wandering from pillar to post. So that they lost everything in those ways. They just literally drive them out of their land, kill them off in all kind of ways. So, in a way, what I can say, um, we as African people is lucky, because we are still alive and we have a lot of our traditions still. And the only reason why we maintain so much of our tradition is because the spiritual aspect of what we are practicing. So whatever anybody wanna knock spirituality, because again, people are getting confused and mixing up spirituality with religion. We are not talking about religious practice at all. We are talking about something that your heart and your spirit and every part of your body feel and know the reality of what life is and how you are in harmony and balance with everything around you, with nature, with your ancestors, with the clouds, with the waters, everything. Those are the things that we are talking about, the essence of life on earth. We are not talking about religious practice, because all religious practice is ordained by man, created by man, and therefore we are not talking about those things.
Okay. Okay, Boabti. Yeah. Um, I think that there is so much to be said. And I think we might be having some technical. So yeah,
Yeah.
if there's, are you hearing
Can you
Jody?
hear me?
Just about, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
use this one
Okay, so.
if necessary. Yeah. Um, definitely correct when you say religion and spirituality. Two different things. As the Naba calls it, dogmas. These tools that are used to control the people, and now science in the form of medicine is another tool now. This control of humanity, which they seem so desperate to do. um you know each it looks like each eon, each era, there was another tool. In one time it was religion, then it was science, now it seems to be the medical side, any means by which to control people. Yeah, yeah. And so that's happening en masse.
The only thing I can say now is that um, there are so many plants on the earth that mankind don't even know yet. And even the ones that we know, they don't have the intelligence or the spirituality to access those plants properly. Because everything that we need, we have been given. So when we start creating, we can't create when we have the perfect copy of ready. You can't go above the divine who organized the intelligences that created all these things and put them into being. And now, because we have a PhD and we know if we kill a few rats, that we are so superior and we don't need the energy of plant no more. So now we are gonna start making our own meat. We don't need cows no more, pigs or goat, because they're letting off too much methane gas. So now we're gonna create meat in the lab, which is gonna be better for you, and it's gonna have more protein, more enriched. And that is what we are. That is the world we are walking into. So I rather stick in the forest. I just wanna be in the forest. I wanna be by the sea. I wanna be by the rivers, and I wanna be away from humanity. I don't wanna be walking it. I wanna go the opposite way where humanity is going. So I'm not. I'm saying all I can say is there is a divine energy and light and harmony and balance around and in every one of us, and we just need to go inwardly and we find what we're looking for. And we have to also remember that we will die sooner or later.
I think that's a perfect place to rest for this, just for now, until the next time we ask you to come back and share with us. So, Buabti, any last, you know, any last words you'd like to leave of wisdom that you'd like to leave for the listeners to take away with before we close tonight's show?
Try your hardest. Seek day and night to unite yourself in harmony with your ancestors, with the divine, with all that is created, not by man, but by created by far superior intelligences. Just look into yourself and try and find out why you're here and who you are, and everything else will fall into place. So I
Okay,
Wow.
Duawu, Buabti, Duawu, for sharing with us today. Okay, may the ancestors continue to guide you and protect you. Duawu, Irihiru,
yeah.
Hear, hear,
Irihiru
hear.
Sen. Okay, so we are now on the last few minutes of the show. Um, I want to say Duao again to Buapti for sharing, his time and the words with us. We're going to give you, for those of you who are interested in contacting the school, we are going to give you some information, but also those of you who are interested on the online initiation, we will I think it was Saturday gone on the 18th that the for those who want to do online, we still do have the initiation in the schools, but for those who may be wherever you are in the world and would like to come into initiation, the doors of initiation are open. I think they'll probably be open for another 2 weeks, week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So those of you who are interested in taking the online initiation, Jodie's going to give you some information for the website where you can contact the EC and other events that are happening.
So on Thursday the 23rd, which is tomorrow, there is the resilience series with roundtable discussion on honoring the divine in your life. That is tomorrow on via Zoom. And on Saturday the 25th, there is the graduation for the Umta Mystery School in Toronto, Canada, and that one also will be available via the YouTube channel, and I'll give those details out in a second. And on the same day, actually, there is an event at the London School, which is this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. to 8:30. The title of the lecture is "What is the Language of the Gods?" It's 7 p.m. at the door for adults and £5 for ages 14 to 18 and free for under 14s, and it includes light refreshments. And if you want to buy a ticket online, you do get a bit of a discount, so it's £5. Then on the 29th of September, which is a Wednesday, we do have the Day of Tahuti Ma'at Fruit and Honey ceremony. And then on Sunday, the 2nd of October, we have another online lecture, which is all about developing a spiritual mentality. So the contact details for the international website is www.theearthcenter.org, and center is spelled CENTER. The website for the UK temples is www.theearthcenteruk.com. The email address is enquiries-uk@theearthcentre.org. Our Instagram is @Kebtah, that's KEBTAH, and @the Earth Centre of UK. And follow us on Facebook. We are the Earth Centre of UK, and the Earth Centre Coventry.
Okay, we want to say dwao, and we shall be looking forward to speaking with you, being with you, sharing with you in our next show. Next week you have Nehipsa and Karsati and possibly Satati too, and we look forward to speaking with you again. We are going to be sharing with you our podcast that is coming too, so we will be on the podcast and we'll be sharing with you the details of our podcast, so do listen out for that. So we want to say dua for being with us this evening. May the ancestors and the deities, or whichever name you call your God by, may they continue to guide, protect you and keep you until next time. Iriharu.
This song goes in the memory of the beloved prophet Nebnabala Musa Mordinabig, the doggone prince, Mahir, the truth teller, Listen Abasa, which means I'll be appreciated after I'm gone. He's the man who overcome the devils with love. He's the man who speaks because he has something to say. The man of wisdom, the definition of humanity. Mahiru, Mahiru, Mahiru. From far away, from far away, far away, from far away, from far away, Prophet Naba, far away, from far away, from far away, Prophet, from far away, Prophet Naba, far away, from far away, from far away, Prophet, from far away. He's the man of wisdom. He's the man who lived by faith, and not by fear. His greatest wealth is the richness of his soul. He's the man who lived by faith and not by fear. He's the double-edged sword. He's the double-edged sword. He's the key to unlock the treachery. Follow truth and you shall find him. He's the definition of humanity.